I'm Eddie Rester.
I'm Chris McAlilly. Welcome to today's episode of The Wait.
Today our guest is country music legend Craig Wiseman. He's originally from Hattiesburg, Mississippi. He has written 29 number one songs, 350 cuts. He was named Songwriter of the Decade in 2009, Songwriter of the Year multiple times, and he's been heavily involved in Nashville in something called the Stars of Second Harvest. I want to talk about that in just a little bit. Craig, thank you for taking some time to be with us today.
No, happy to be here, Eddie. You and I go way back. I remember whenever in my trips to Hattiesburg to visit Mom, and Mom started saying, "Oh, we got a new minister. I want you to meet at Parkway, Eddie." And so Mom really loved you. So happy to do this. So
she's one of my favorites all time, and we're going to talk about her for just a second. In just a second, one of the folks we've got with us today is Cody Hickman. Most folks don't ever get to see him, and that's intentional. All right, right, Cody?
If you want to put it like that, Eddie, I also control everything after this is done, so I can make you look good or bad, you know?
Yeah. So Cody's sitting in for Chris McAlilly today, and I'm going to be nice to him, so he'll be nice to me. Craig, you mentioned your mom, and your mom was one of a kind, and let me tell you, I heard about you not long after I moved to Hattiesburg in 1997. Her boy had gone to Nashville, and she just, even in 97, I think, 98, 99, she still wasn't sure about you. Your mom was such a gift, and she died just about a year ago. And so tell us just a little bit about who your mom is, why she was special to you, what she meant for you as you built your career and your life.
Well, Mom, and the thing is, you get old and you finally reach that point where you're old enough to where you start looking at your parent as a beyond the myth and just as a person. Mm-hmm. And sometimes that's a little, sometimes that's a little, that brings it down a little bit. But with myself and my mother, I realized what an amazing person she was. I mean, truly was. My father, on my 11th birthday, when I was 11, my brother was 13. My father was a pilot, and he went missing. Obviously, he crashed, and but he had to be declared missing because it was an airplane crash and yada yada. And so, just a year or two, my mother had been at USM, had been in academia. She was working, education administration, all that kind of stuff. And there she was, all of a sudden thrust into all these family businesses my father had going, And so I realized that, because she loved her job and everything, and that happened to her in her early 40s. And I realized in my early 40s, that's why my career was really, really taking off and going crazy. And you start to realize, so what if circumstances just plucked me out of this and dropped me into something that I was not interested in whatsoever? Add the pressure of trying to raise two boys right about the time when a man's influence was really, really needed with an 11 and 13-year-old boy. And I started realizing my mother's journey and the faith that took. And I don't know if she went through a faith crisis. She said she stopped praying or only prayed angry prayers for a while, but then came out of that stronger than ever. And so when it came down to Mom and her faith journey, I told Keith, who came, Keith, who is now at Parkway Heights in Hattiesburg there, and he came over to talk to me and my brother for her service, and he wrote a beautiful and did a great service for Mom. He really did. He's a great writer. But he asked me, he used this in the thing. He said, but one of my prayers in life has always been like, Lord, don't test me like you did my mother. I mean, if you please not do that, because her test, she had her chapter of Job for sure, and passed it with flying colors. Came out on the other side stronger than ever, a spiritual warrior, like few that it's really crazy.
She's one of the people that when she would tell me, Eddie, I had this vision. And she would describe the vision to me. Oftentimes, as a pastor, when people say, I had a vision, I get kind of scared. But when when Evelyn Wiseman said, I had a vision, you sat and you listened and you talked to her about it and you prayed with her about it. She just had a gift, particularly as she got older, of faith and prayer and the ability um,
You-
to
Well,
work
I
with.
mean, when you hear about these people, and I watched my mother do that, where it's that thing they say where she started praying and and prayer became a ritual for her. And with that, all those things you heard about in the Bible, the whole thing of discernment, and then the whole thing of you can actually have a conversation with God. And frankly, I think also that living off manna and stuff, what it'll do for your health. Mother, she died at 90. She got a chest cold about 10 days out that she didn't recover from, even though she had Alzheimer's by then, but she had a chest cold she didn't recover from. But outside of that, she was on no medication, no high blood pressure, no nothing, 90 years old. And just, I mean,
Yeah.
she was a child of God. I mean, when it came to discernment and when it came to those things and just that thing, and my brother and I both, when it came down to it, mother had a hunch or something, or if something, or some kind of intuition, or if God told her something, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, it really was, and you're going like, well, that's crazy to follow that and everything, but like, no, it's mom. And she's like, just like, dude.
Yeah.
It is real. There are people who, like I said, I think they just, and they're all in the Bible, and you hear about them all through life. These people who, and a lot of them become saints. These people who just become so dedicated to that pathway, and they get so far up, so far beyond normal people, even people of God, even people of faith. They get so far beyond up there that it's just like, man, you're just right up there against the thin veil, where you could hear the angel of wings. You're right up against it. You're right. You literally you're in the hand of God, and you have the ear of God, and you can hear God, and God talks to you, and it's real. It's real.
And for her, what was amazing was you had a sense that there was no judgment. There was no
No.
sense of, well, I've got this better than you. It's just simply who she was. And you never thought, I'm never going to be where, I don't know about you. As a preacher, I was like, I don't know that I'm ever going to reach where Evelyn Wiseman is, but I was always thankful to know her and to have her praying for me.
Yeah, zero judgment, zero meet you wherever you were at. It's funny. I wrote a song. Me and Ronnie Dunn wrote a song called "Believe" that did very well, and it's funny because that came out of another lady in Hattiesburg named Alma Dennis, who had called my mother over a TV thing she had done over me. And when I told Ronnie about that call and about Elma and all this led to Believe, my thing that I said, I was like, whenever we talked to Elma, I was like, here's what's funny. I was like, there's so many people who are religious and they come to you and they tell you what you're doing wrong. They tell you what you should be doing and all this kind of stuff. I was like, well, Elma never got into that at all. She just operated from a place of faith so hard. That's what we tried to rewrite that in the song, that somebody who operates from a place of faith so resoundingly, so unquestionably, that it affects you. And it never does. It never gets down to what am I doing? What should I be doing better? How can I? They are just being themselves so hard that it resonates with the spiritual part of you, and maybe even wakes that up for the first time in your life. And so I said that about Elma, and then I went on to realize, like, that's who my mother is, because mother and Elma got to talking to each other on the phone, and of course they hit it off like friggin' like wildfire, and they were close friends. They spoke to each other regularly because they saw that there was that thing, that spiritual warrior thing, that Jedi master thing that they recognized in each other.
Right. How is that play? Well, a couple things. One thing that your mom always bragged on you about, you and KK, your wife, was that you were active in your church. You led the youth ministry or worked with the youth ministry for a while. She would tell me those stories. How has her faith continued to play out in your relationships, your work in the life of the church, and even in your music? How does that play out for you?
Yeah,
Her
it
influence.
really is the what was the quote from with the line in the wardrobe thing? That guy, his quote, we don't need more books about Christianity. We need more books written by Christians with their
Mhm.
faith. You know, I mean, yeah, I mean, like I said, her faith, like I said, and she took me to church and all that kind of stuff. So I was, properly indoctrinated, as so many people now. They want to doubt you if you're a person of faith. Like, you were just raised in the church, you couldn't. But then I came to God on my own as an adult, and I was saved again as an adult.
Man.
And once again, that's what made me realize and really appreciate not my mother, but it made me appreciate Evelyn Wiseman for what she was and what she stood for. And that whole thing. And the thing is, probably the biggest thing I learned from mother and the inspiration I got is God plays long ball. And this world is so full of instant gratification and all this stuff. And God is playing long ball in ways you cannot imagine. And it takes faith and patience is faith, just respelled, to hang in there long enough to see that. But mother hung in there unquestionably, just going like, no, this is going to work out. This is that, with the assurity of that, knowing that God plays long ball in a short ball world, man.
Yeah.
God is playing long ball and the long game. And man, that has inspired me. And in my business, that whole thing of, man, you say your prayers, you get your inspiration, you find your compass point, and by God, that's it. You put your head down, ears back, and that's your compass point, period. And I rode that out enough and to reach the true bounty of that.
And thinking about the career of a songwriter, you talk about God playing the long game and the need to have faith in the long game. I would imagine this because sometimes you write a lot, I would imagine, or you invest a lot of energy or time in an artist, and it's not instant. It really is for you.
No,
I would imagine, particularly early days.
you were really, I mean, for years, you're just in a coal mine and you're just swinging that pickaxe, man. And and invariably you're thinking, even when you do well, like, and you think like, well, I'm writing this song, because sometimes you write with an artist and sometimes you're writing kind of for an artist, an artist is cutting. And even when you're successful, like I got, and they'll listen to my song. When I write this song, if I send them to their camp, they're cutting a record, they're going to listen to it. And you've got that, you will have that moment of audience with them. And so you write this song, you write the heck out of a song and you send it to them. And they could no longer just crickets, nothing. You don't hear anything from them. And you've built up all these expectations and stuff. And then nothing happens. And, and you just have to shrug off that disappointment and move on. And then 3 years later, some artist you've never heard of wants to cut it. And you're like, whatever. And they cut it and they become a bigger artist than the artist you were trying to write for that day ever wanted to be. You were writing for some artist nobody's ever heard of. And the next thing you know, Morgan Wallen or Blake Shelton or somebody cuts something, and you just kind of realize, and it's really cool to live long enough to realize that happens, because then you do get into that thing of going I can't wait, which that's, for me, that probably is maybe one of the greatest catchphrases of I live in faith of I can't wait to see how this is going to play out.
Mm-hmm.
I can't wait to see how this is going to play out, because it will play out. I can't wait. I can't wait to see how this is going to play out.
Yeah.
And to get to that point, as opposed to, oh, damn it, it wasn't going to work. This isn't going to you don't even know enough to be pessimistic. You don't have enough information to be pessimistic. Calm down.
Well, I want to go back to some of the early days. One of your friends is texting back and forth with one of your high school friends, high school buddies, Jody, last night. And he said, when you went to Nashville, you lived in your van. Is that right?
Oh yeah, yeah. I didn't know anything. You know, I had a van. I had my drum set. I'd been playing drums in bars. I mean, my mom loved that.
I bet she did.
Hey, um,
We had conversations about some of your songs. Don't worry. Yeah.
yeah, and so it drove to Nashville. But I had my van, and I knew it was a city. I was like, well, someone's going to steal that. So and I just thought like I'm just going to get a gig. I can set up my drums somewhere. Man, I don't know. I just came ready to go to work, you know. And so somebody would steal my drums, so I just slept in my van for the first with my drum set. I took the pillow out of my kick, drum set. You normally use a pillow in your kick drum to kind of deaden it. That I slept on that pillow. I'd pull it out of my kick drum, slept in the back of the van. I had this little foamy space couch thing, and trying to find the cheapest possible place to live, and I found it. The horrible roach infested, apartment, and all that, and so yeah, that was it. I was and the thing is, and loving it. It was the romantic journey of I'm a songwriter. I'm this, I'm the next Chris Christopherson. Just that all those stories of Chris and Willie's and all those guys in my head, like, well, hey, I'm paying my dues too. It's all gonna be, it's I'm going around looking for a place that sells $1 beers and sleeping in my car and writing songs and kind of loving it.
Back to your mom on this, and I want to lean into the music. I know Cody's got questions about music as well. What was your mom's encouragement or discouragement when you said, "I'm packing up and going to Nashville"? I know you've been playing around for a while.
Yeah, I'm sure there's some, because I dropped out of college too. I was going to USM, and so it just became so. I was playing 6 nights a week in Hattiesburg, trying to go to college, doing the stuff, but writing songs, coming home, writing songs, till 3 o'clock in the morning every day. I was already writing songs every day, just loving it, ate up with it. And so when I wanted to go to Nashville, I mean, mom, so drop out of college, moved to Nashville. Mom always was just like supporting, and I finally got a job playing. And I went in Mississippi, well, any place else, you can make pretty good money playing in bands and stuff. So I was making, $300 or $400 a week. This is 80. This is early 80s. So I'm making $300 or $400 a week cash. There, and then I come to Nashville, and supply and demand, you figure out that pretty quickly. So I finally got a gig at 7 nights a week, 6 hours a night at $25 a night. And so it was just one of those,
Gosh,
so little money that it was just bleeding. And I was trying to write songs during the day, so I couldn't get a second job, or at least I knew, I had a second job, only it just didn't pay. And so mom sent me like $100 or $200 a month, for first several, just to help. I mean, really, that money, that really kind of kept me right at subsistence. I could just get by, pay my electric bill, yada, yada. But pretty much, I still to this day, I don't know why most people hate their poor food, but to this day, my big thing is I go to Kroger and buy those 3-pound bags of rice. So that was back when country crock butter was going, not even butter, but just that chemical thing. But there's those big brown tubs, and they were trying to come out on the market. So they were selling those really cheap. And so basically, I can't think of how many meals I had that was just rice with that country crock butter on it. Just there you go. And just so you just eat just a huge bowl of that and you're full, and there we go. That was my thing. And to this day, I still like rice. Most people who they're poor food, they don't ever want to get around it again. But I'm always fond of it. Hey, just some rice with some butter on it. Nothing wrong with that. And
So I ramen noodles for my poor food, and Hamburger Helper, the off-brand Hamburger Helper, so I can still eat ramen noodles. I don't want to ever see a box of Hamburger Helper again.
Yeah. Most people, it kind of, probably 2/3 of the people never want to see their poor food again. But I'm one of those people who like rice with butter. I'm fine with it. I'm good. But mom, this is another thing. I wrote a song with one of our jokes. That was also back when the no brand, the white, remember, this goes way back. You have to be old enough to understand.
Cody, you don't remember generic foods that when they first introduced generic canned foods? Do you remember this, Cody? It was just
no brand at all.
Black with white writing.
Yeah, it was just a white label with black. And it just said, and so mother, whenever she come to visit, she would just bring me just whatever. You could tell on the way out, she would just walk through her pantry on the way to the garage and grab stuff. And so she just kept giving me butter beans, and I would put them on the top shelf in my kitchen, because I wasn't going to do anything. But I remember looking up there one day, and there was just like 10 cans of various, like some of them were 2 years old, some of them were 2 months old. But I was just going like, butter beans, nothing but, and I wrote this song called Butter Beans, and it never cut or anything, but I played it for Mom, and that was always what we laughed about that, because of course, butter beans, but nothing but butter beans. Dang it. It was just this, because I was like, till I took that can and set it on the kitchen table and wrote that song, and there's Mom influencing me. So
He's the ode to your mother. Yeah.
Butter beans.
Yeah. And so as you think about, I know you wrote a song earlier, you co-wrote a song for Roy Orbison and his album. As you think back about the songs you've written through the years, and you've written some just hits. I believe you mentioned that earlier, but Live Like You're Dying, some other ones. I know Butterbean's probably your favorite, but if not Butterbeans, what's one that you said, this is the one that I'm glad I wrote or had a hand in writing?
Oh man, there are, it's a little bit like picking favorite kids a little bit, but
Cody has 4 kids. He picks a favorite from time to time. Yeah.
Man, there's like, I wrote a song, Kenny Chesney cut called The Good Stuff that I really like. That was a very, very spiritual day writing that. One of those things where where it was very, as Live Like You're Dying was. There's a bunch of, the thing is, those songs are like that though, where it's funny because there are those life songs. There's Live Like You're Dying and the Believes and the Good Stuff and stuff. But then there's also, I'm famously also always want to write up-tempo fun stuff, So for Kenny Chesney, I wrote Summertime and stuff like that. And, and for Tim McGraw, a bunch of hits. And then Blake Shelton, these boys around here, and just these fun. Oh, here's my favorite story ever. So Mom, my God, this is great. Mom was going right in the middle of Live Like You Were Dying and all that stuff, right? So there's all this. So there's a lot of focus on me, right? Well, I think after it was over, like in the next year or two, I had a song from and on Montgomery Gentry. It was called Hell Yeah. And me and my buddy wrote, Hell Yeah, turn it up. It was just about this, But of course, and for whatever reason, I had people, Jody, I think was one of the people, Jody Warren, one of the people who called me up going like, thanks to you, I got a 3-year-old running around my house screaming, Hell Yeah, at the top of her lungs. And so out of all the songs that, as you know, as Mother would brag on me endlessly, that finally, though, people would, so as that song went up the charts and kind of got to be pretty well known, people were coming up to Mom going, did Craig write a song called Hell Yeah? And for the only time in her life ever, Mom would go like, I'm not sure, I'll have to ask. I'm not sure. I was like, so.
Oh, that's funny.
Finally busted her a little bit where she didn't just wear somebody out with some song that I had.
I heard about that song, by the way.
That would have been back during your time. That would have been back in your time.
My time. Yeah,
it's funny.
Yeah, in fact, I think one of the things she led was the divorce recovery class at Parker Heights. She was so committed to that, and I was always a speaker early on. I was a young guy who was married, speaking to folks who were going through divorce, who had lost a spouse in some way. And she pulled me aside one night. She said, "Craig, I think Craig wrote this song, and I'm just not sure what to think about it, Eddie." So she, but she was, but
I say that to say, as much as I love it, Look Like You're Dying, and all that kind of stuff, the Hell Yes, all we were doing is I wrote that with my buddy Jeffrey Steele, who's a amazing songwriter, like me, 30 number ones, all that kind of stuff. But we both came from bands. And that came from, we were sitting there talking one day, like, remember that guy who would just come up and stand right in front of the PA speaker with like a beer in each hand and just really out of it. And just like, and you start playing some Hank Jr. and he'd be like, no. And we were laughing about that guy. And he was like, we should write a song about that guy. Like, what are we going to call it? He was like, Hell Yeah. And I was like, we can't write a song called Hell Yeah. And of course we did. But the fact that it captured that guy, and then we ended up adding, if you listen to the lyrics on it, this is a guy who went through Vietnam and everything else, and then the second verse is the girl who has the corner office and all this kind of stuff, and sort of fights to kind of be her own person too, and she's in there getting over heartaches, and we animated these people and breathed, and we kind of busted ourselves laughing at that guy, going like, we don't even know his story, and I bet his story is. There's a lot more going on there. And so we breathed that into that. I think that's what really made that song. If you ever want to pull up the lyrics on that, because it's a volume of lyrics, but it kind of touched on that. And so yeah. So but I say that because that anytime a song just captures what you were going for, that moment of life, and whether that's going to the reservoir, drinking a beer with your friends, whether that's falling in love by the dashboard lights for your girlfriend, whether that's a spiritual moment, like in Believe or Live Like You Were Dying, that's what I want. If I just captured that, if I just painted that picture correctly that day, and just really, if I just got it right, those are the favorite songs. Those are the ones I'm most proud of, even though the subject matter can be trivial as all get out or deep and meaningful. On a certain level, as long as I nailed it, as long as I kind of just got in there next to the truth. If I got in there and cozied up to the truth for a few minutes, man, that's a good day, man. That's a blessed day to get in there next to the truth a little bit. It's lovely. It's great.
Yeah, it's that moment where, and preaching's the same way in some respects.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I do what you do, but that moment where you've captured people's hearts and attention, and
Amen.
suddenly they're thinking, and songwriting, the best songwriting is that it draws you in, and you realize I'm somewhere in this song, or someone I know and love.
You can I do this thing too? Whenever, and those sermons that you write, that it's drawing people in with their truth, and it's drawing you in yourself in the writing of it. And that's the same with me as a songwriter, to write the good stuff. There's so many people who said, man, the first time I heard that song, I cried. And I told them, first time I heard that song, I cried too.
Yes.
So in the middle of writing it, as this story came out, it was,
Yeah. I think that's the heart of it. And, we need storytellers. I think today, maybe more than we did when you started back in '85, we need people who can paint a picture and give us a story of what life and empathy and hope and joy looks like. The world just feels dark a lot of times. We need people who can help us see beyond the moment. I don't. Recently, we were watching a
you need people who help remind you that God plays long ball.
long ball. Thank you. Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to take away from this. You may end up in a sermon sometime, Craig, which would probably really make Evelyn Wiseman real happy if you end up in a song sometime.
That would make her endlessly happy.
Yeah. Cody did do some research on you. He did some digging on you, and
I did.
he went through your entire library of songs and discovered something that you may or may not know, Craig.
I did. Let me first say before I get to that I honestly have not been checked out in a bad way. I think this podcast is just for me to enjoy. And so I forget that I'm actually one of the hosts today, and I'm just in here soaking this all up. This has been great. So Craig, like Eddie said, I play music and grew up, started in the youth group playing drums to start with. And then the guy who was playing guitar graduated. So I was like, I guess I better learn how to play guitar and start singing. And so I did that and wrote here and there. So one of my questions was going to be, how I always wrote from a response to something happening in life. When I was younger, it's, a girlfriend and heartbreak and whatever else. And that was kind of the basis for it. I was never disciplined with my writing. I didn't, sit down every day and treat it like a job. And I know the folks at Dan Esbel in Nashville. I don't know if you're familiar with Dan. He's a writer there.
Well, yeah.
We went to college together, and
Oh, wow.
I know he sits down and he put the time in. He played the long game before he saw success. but I just wrote from experiences, like in a moment, like, finish out a whole song, and then that was it. And then I honestly didn't touch a song again for a really long time, probably 10 years. And about 8.5 years ago, I can't remember now, my dad passed away. And then songwriting just came back in that moment. And it wasn't a lot. It was a few songs that just came back in moments where I just needed to process. And that's what the songwriting has always been for me. And there were times I wish I would have sat down and been disciplined and maybe given it a real go.
Man, I've told so many songwriter classes too, up until, being a professional songwriter, so to speak, that is a very, very modern invention and a very modern bastardization of a beautiful thing. It really is. Because the purpose of songwriting was you worked all day in the fields or whatever. And you came and you were on your porch that night after supper, and somebody had a guitar and you sang these songs or whatever with your friends and with your family to bring everybody together, or just to share, and or to mourn somebody who passed away. And there was never a dime to be made or anything else about it. The whole point was just you being inspired and you sharing that. And because you have that gift for it and other people don't, you're doing it for them. I'll never forget one of my other dear friends who was a classmate of me and Jody's was Mike Bearfield. And Mike Bearfield at some point, and he loved my stuff, and he said, he goes, these songs you write about Hattiesburg and all these things, and like I wrote a song for Kenny Jesse called Young that talked about it going to the rapids, which was one of our spoon holes and stuff. And he knew enough to catch little tidbits and stuff. And he finally one day he said, "Man, thanks for remembering for all of us."
Yeah.
And I was like, I loved that. I was like, yeah, man, I'll be the rememberer. That's fine. Everybody else is busy. Everybody else has other gifts. I'll be the rememberer. I like it. I live there. I go there so much to draw from that well that I have all those memories and I kind of keep them alive. I mean, and it's all of my friends, the Jodys and the Mikes and all the Arianes and the Elisa Phillips and all these people, they're always like, God, how did you think of that? How'd you remember that? It's just like, because I go there often. I go there a lot. I draw on this stuff a lot. And one of the reasons why I'm back in Hattiesburg now and I'm helping doing some parks and stuff in Midtown and all that stuff is like, man, I got to pay this place back. This place kind of, it's kind of came to me. But to your point, you wrote when you're inspiration, and you would wait for the inspiration to hit you to write a song, Cody, which is normal, which is the thing. Professionally, you kind of go after the inspiration. I think it's probably the same thing as a minister now.
Yeah.
Where I think anybody could probably in their life, there's probably a good half a dozen sermons they can give, which is basically telling their truth. But a minister has to go to the inspiration. You have to go find the inspiration in things.
Yeah.
To be able to crank that stuff out every week. And that's kind of where it is with songwriting professionally. You have to go find the inspiration. And then a lot of times you're just skating on that, which I love. I look at my mantle at the shiny things up there, the big award-winning songs, the big ones. And I look up there and realize, like, I didn't walk in the room with any one of those ideas that day. Every one of those ideas just came through the ether, came from God, came from the moment, came from so much of songwriting. You start off, you get a cup of coffee, you start talking about what's going on. And you're like, man, I reminds me of the guy. There used to be this guy in my hometown, man. He was this day. You start going, yeah, me too. And what you want is you want to stumble on this little nugget of truth, this little commonality, and you try to build out from there. And if you're successful, you build it all the way up to this great big sandcastle, one little scoop at a time. But that's the thing. That's where I know as a minister. That's one of the things we were talking about. Eddie, our friend Keith, who is the pastor at Parkway Heights now. Keith, who did Mom's funeral, is a really, really gifted writer. He's a really good. I watched him when he did stuff for my mom's funeral. He came and talked to me and my brother for about an hour and incorporated that beautifully into this mosaic of a sermon that had me in tears 3 or 4 times. And this guy, and I've been around him a few other times, and I was just there. He did I know that all ministers hate what is the stewardship week where you got to go
Oh, the
up there and
stewardship.
beg
Yeah,
for money.
yep. Where you have
Yeah,
to
you got to
go.
go beg for money. Yeah, I get it.
We
Every
call it
minister's
something a
like,
little better than
"Oh,
beg for money. Yeah.
well,
just start calling it
the
that.
Southern Baptists dig it, but that's neither here nor there. Sorry, but but he gave. I'll be danged. I snuck into church. I was there. This was like in November, and he gave perhaps one of the best stewardship sermons I'd ever heard in my life. And of course, I was sitting there going, "Of course, it's Keith. Yeah, this guy is friggin' great," because he just talked about his kids and them giving their allowance money away.
Yeah.
And he goes, "You realize how hard I worked for that money and everything?" And he realized, like, no, they're my children. And they were given this money that wasn't theirs in the first place. So why shouldn't they give it away?
Yeah.
And here I was going, yeah, why? This is not everything I have in my life is a blessing. It's been given to me from God. And why shouldn't I give it away? Why am I going to be stingy with it all of a sudden? It's not mine to keep. It wasn't mine. And so Keith, I mean, once again, I was sitting out there going, dude, you friggin' nail it, man. You're rock and roll, man.
You know, one of the folks we interviewed on the podcast a while back was Neil White. He wrote In the Sanctuary of Outcasts, incredible book about his time. But he talked about the writing, and he said, people just need to write.
Yeah.
People just need to spend time writing stories. And, you know, again, not because they want to write a book or maybe write a song that sells millions of copies, but just because as humans, we need to be telling stories and we need to be better.
Yeah. I mean, I'm really there. I think nowadays, especially, I've just been doing this too, because there's AI stuff, which is very, very good at dictation. And you seriously, like, remember like 7 or 8 years ago, that word to text thing, and you'd do it, and it was like you were drunk on aftershave or something. You'd look at this text going, what is that? Well, it's a whole different world now. It's extremely accurate. And I say that to say that even if you don't want to sit down and, I'm going to write this thing and everything, you can start there and just put your thoughts into this thing. It will throw it up on this piece of paper that then you can go in, edit, push to, and it's not so daunting to be able to write and capture that stuff. And I really recommend that thing, because you will reveal so many people just basically everything they communicate. That's what I really appreciate. True intellectuals these days, there's so few of them. Because most people, you're just vomiting out whatever is just on the top of your head. You never think about it. You're never challenged about it or anything else. But whenever you write, whenever you put something down, whenever you're looking at your thoughts and reading them back, it either makes you stop and crystallize what you're trying to say, or it makes you kind of go, well, that looks kind of stupid. Like, yeah,
I don't want anybody to ever see that. Yeah.
Maybe that should be edited out. You know, and there's precious little of that these days. So,
Yeah.
you know, I'm a big believer in that, in writing, and everybody can write. And that's just it. Everybody thinks it's some big thing, and you can write. You can. I think, especially like in some of the AI and the dictation stuff and all, it can start there where you can just literally ramble into your phone, but then all of a sudden there it is written in front of you, and then you can look at it and go, either I like that, or you can just go, okay, that's kind of crazy. And it's like, yeah, that's kind of crazy. Yeah. So maybe you're kind of crazy. So that's tomorrow's chapter. Maybe I'm kind of crazy.
Why am I kind of crazy?
Yeah. How did you
Cody, back to you. What is it?
How did you learn to be vulnerable in it? So that's one thing I've seen, especially writing about my dad, and recently I had this memory of my brother. He had a 93 Bronco. And we shared a cell phone. He turned 16. He got a cell phone. We shared it. We did everything together. And like, for some reason, when he turned 40 this summer, and the memory of like all the things we did together in that Bronco came back. And so I wrote just a little piece about that and kind of put it out there, just like, you know, put up TikTok reels or whatever, just to have an outlet, because I don't really have a creative outlet like that anymore. So I started doing that here and there. But man, there's some of the things it's just been like, I put it out and it makes me sweat. It makes me nervous. And it's not, because it's just something about being vulnerable in that. And then also for you, I've never done this, but writing with people, being vulnerable in the writing room, with other folks. Like how does that come about? Is that natural for you? Is that something you've had to work on and flex that muscle?
There's a lot of people I can't co-write with, or I don't try to. There's people I kind of resonate with,
Mm-hmm.
but that's just it. I've told this story before. I love it too. This all ties into all kinds of stuff, man. But there's a basic edict in life I love. But I tell people so many times, like, man, this is all just high school football coach stuff for you. Like a high school football coach is, son, there's obstacles and goals. What are you looking at? What are you focused on? Because you can only focus on one thing: obstacles or goals. Are you looking at your goals? Or are you looking at obstacles? Are you looking at that or are you looking at that end zone down there? Or are you thinking about the 11 guys that are trying to tear your head off to keep you from getting there? Because whatever you think about, whatever you're worried about, whatever you're focused on is probably going to be what you end up dealing with. And I'd much rather deal with success than I would. So I say that to say, for you to be just so lost in what you're doing to where you don't stop to think that you are vulnerable. You don't stop to think that you are. I mean, you just have to, and you do get used to being vulnerable. But the thing is, I mean, it's just you think you're being vulnerable. The other person on the other side, and that's the good thing about me writing all these years. Because people will tell me later, like, man, that day we wrote, you were doing this or that. And I remember feeling so self-conscious, and they were just going like, man, I just really appreciate the fact that you were just being so honest and truthful. It was great. Mm. And so you kind of learn that, but so here's the thing, and this isn't a book. Supposedly Charles Darwin, and it might have been when he was in Galapagos. This was used as a beautiful example where he went out in Galapagos, and there was a tree falling over or whatever, and there was this beetle on this tree. And he was like, okay, I know enough to know that nobody's ever seen this beetle. Here's I'm going to get to name a beetle, and oh my God, you know, this is for a naturalist, this is big doings right here. I got a beetle. And then, oh my God, there's another beetle. There's another beetle. There's a different kind of beetle. And like, wow, I got 2 beetles. I cannot believe that. It just is crazy. And as soon as he said that, lo and behold, here comes the 3rd beetle. He pops the first beetle in his mouth to hold it, to grab that 3rd beetle, and it ended up spraying. But he was so lost in
the moment,
in his goal, yes, in the moment, that he did not wonder about how he was coming off. The fact that, dude, you just popped a bug in your mouth. That never crossed his mind. And glory, hallelujah, man, for those moments where I can be so lost in, well, any of us can be so lost in our life and what we're inspired to do and what is sweeping us away at the moment that we don't know how we don't care how we come off.
Yeah.
And I mean, we live in such a, especially nowadays with all these TikToks and stuff, it is such a, the self-awareness is on 11 and it's horrible. It's eating us alive.
Yep.
And, but think about it. Who are your favorite friends? I think of my favorite friends because I have a cast of characters up here in Nashville. You can imagine. Mm-hmm. Who are your favorite people? Your favorite people are the people that don't have the faintest idea of how they come off. Mm-hmm. They are themselves out loud, 24/7. They are themselves. They have no idea how they're coming off. They are just lost in who they are. And they are the most entertaining, cool people ever. I guarantee you, your favorite people are those people. And the things you admire and dig about them the most are the things they don't have the faintest idea of that they're doing.
Yeah.
So even when we're faced with constant evidence of, man, just be yourself and just live out loud. You know, in the face of that, everybody is so paralyzed by how am I coming off? What's my self-awareness and what's all this stuff? And okay, let's get back to one of my other songwriter stories. I'm sorry, I'm running everything here, but
no, we're good.
In songwriter seminars and stuff back in the day, one of my favorite things was like the first story, and there's a reason for this. The first story in the Bible involving people is Adam and Eve. And so let's just run that down real quick. There's Adam and Eve, and they're in the Garden of Eden, and they're running around, and they're naked, and they're in bliss. They're in bliss. They have everything they could ever want. God gave them everything. Couple of rules, like, hey, there's a couple of trees you got to avoid. You got, tree of life, tree of wisdom. Don't touch the trees, knock yourself out. But of course, and I don't ever want to get into it as a girl or whatever, it was human nature made them bite that apple. Human nature made them bite that apple. It was plain and simple. It's not a girl or a guy thing at all. It's human nature. Think about it. This is Old Testament. Old Testament God, he was the guy who would flaming swords, and he would smite you, and he would bring red tides and crickets and kill firstborns. For Old Testament God was not screwing around. He was the Arnold Schwarzenegger of God in the Old Testament. Get to the New Testament, it's more touchy-feely. Here comes Jesus. Old Testament God was not screwing around. And here these people, they went off and defied his one rule. But what did he do? Didn't smite him, didn't do anything. He just went, oh, okay, that's how you want to play it? Fine. Here's a little something for you. Self-awareness. Bing. How's that? Now, when you think about self-awareness in that context, what does that make you think of self-awareness? Like, God used that as a punishment.
It's not our initial state.
Punishment.
Yeah.
And so therefore, when it comes down to self-awareness, how cool is that in the grand scheme of things? Or at least if you're a person, if you want to live a spiritual life and everything, where is that, how is that classified? It's classified as a bad thing. It's classified as a punishment.
Yeah. And
any place we see people, I used to always say, like, where's the most self-aware place in the United States, in the world? And it's probably Hollywood. And that's what we all kind of look and laugh. We've always kind of looked and laughed at those people and what they do, these hijinks they do, all of that fueled by this self-awareness and them trying to control it,
control how they come off. Yeah.
And, that's my 2 cents.
Yeah.
So one of the people that I think, when you talk about people who just lived who they were, I'm going to go back to your mom one more time. She was Evelyn.
Oh,
and she would make you chuckle sometimes, and she would make you cry at times, and she'd make people feel loved, and that's just who she was. Craig,
and the whole time being a total weirdo, because Mom was a total weirdo. She was like, because she was half in the spiritual realm. Anyway.
Yep. So, half there, half here. So, Craig, we've taken up a whole lot of your time this afternoon. I just want to thank you for your time and just your stories and who you are. And I just appreciate your time today.
I can keep going because this is. I mean, I'm afraid I'm horrible at interviews. Ask me one question, and 40 minutes later, we're running out of tape, Craig.
This episode, I think, is just for me, Eddie. I don't know what needs to happen. You need to set me up we need to go visit Craig in Nashville or something next.
Look. I really do. I will do a part 2, and let's text each other ahead of time. We will try to stay on point, because there are some things to talk about, but the main thing, okay, so from today, the main thing is Mom is an amazing spiritual warrior. Mom got it, and Mom and God both played long ball to nobody, I mean, dude, like nobody's business. And it's even happening now. Us talking about long ball is Mom playing long ball, and Mom and God playing long ball.
Amen. Because I met your mom in 1997. So 30 years later, we're sitting down.
I was 10 years old, Eddie.
Well, Eddie, you were Evelyn Wiseman's favorite. I think, and she knew a lot of them, and she pissed off a lot of them too, a lot of ministers. And you were her favorite. So
we connected. Your mom and I
you did. I mean, mom was absolutely smitten with you and just loved the time. And she was, whenever you left, because the Methodists tend to kind of rotate people through. Mom was not happy about that, not one bit. She did not like Eddie being hauled off somewhere. So she did not like that one bit.
I got hauled off to Oxford, where I had to meet Cody and do this. So, yeah. But we'll do part 2 for sure. I'll shoot you a text, and we'll come up. We'll keep the conversation going. We'll keep Chris on the sidelines.
Yeah, I was about to say, let's kick Chris off.
Only if the ratings do it. I get it, because your first single has to be a hit to do a second single. So
that's right.
You tell me if we get enough viewers, enough listeners on this one, then we'll do a part 2.
So listeners, as you're watching, as you're listening, share this, give this to your friends,
That's right.
send it around so that we can have part 2.
That's right.
And,
Craig, thanks so much,
and-
man.
and part 2, we'll have some stories about that 75 Firebird that Jody.
That's right. I've got a whole list of questions actually.
I
from
do too.
Jody.
You
So
set me up for one, then I just completely.
maybe we'll just
bowled
what
over
we'll
it.
do is we'll just do Jody's questions.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
I had a
we'll do-
72 Pontiac Le Mans. That was my first car.
Ooh, Lamont are good, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay. So here's to part 2, but here's to, hey, thank you guys so much. And, man, God bless Evelyn Wiseman for, everything she's done. The Elma Dennises and the Evelyn Wisemans of the world out there, the true spiritual warriors that are holding it down,
Absolutely. For all of us.
for all of us, and shining a light that shining a light into places of our soul we didn't even know existed. So amen to that. So
Amen. Thank you, man.
great. Hey, great seeing you. And I do mean this. Great seeing you again, Eddie. And Cody, very nice meeting you, buddy. Hey, yeah, here's to part 2.
Here's
Here's part 2. Thank you,
Love
man.
you guys.
Love you. Thank you. Thanks, Craig.